My name is Anna. I'm 28 now, but this story started when I was 24, and I walked in on my sister in bed with my fiancé. Before I tell you how they tried to use a fake family reconciliation to get their hands on my future inheritance, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. It was a Tuesday afternoon in early May, the kind of deceptively bright spring day that promises warmth but still has a chill hiding in the shadows. I remember that chill. I'd left my job as a junior analyst early, my heart thumping with a rare, uncomplicated joy. I'd just been given a major promotion, a team lead position that came with a significant salary increase. It was the validation I'd been working tirelessly for, and all I could think about was seeing Ethan's face when I told him. Our wedding was just over a year away, and this promotion meant we could finally afford the down payment on the small house we'd been dreaming of. I practically floated into our apartment building, my mind already planning the celebration. I'd pick up his favorite takeout, we'd open that expensive bottle of wine we were saving, and we'd spend the evening mapping out our future. I pushed open our apartment door, a wide grin on my face. "I'm home," I called out, dropping my keys into the ceramic bowl by the door. Silence. The air was heavy, still. Usually, I'd hear the low hum of the TV or music playing from his laptop. But there was nothing. Just a profound, unnerving quiet. I frowned. "Ethan?" I called again, my voice a little less certain this time. I walked down the short hallway toward our bedroom, my footsteps suddenly loud on the hardwood floors. The door was closed, which was unusual for the middle of the day. And that's when I heard it. Not a loud noise, but a small, suppressed giggle. It was a sound I knew as well as my own name. It was the sound my younger sister, Dana, made when she was trying to get away with something. My blood, which had been buzzing with excitement moments before, turned to ice water in my veins. It couldn't be. She lived an hour away. Why would she be here? Why would the door be closed? A cold, sick feeling coiled in my stomach. I reached out, my hand trembling slightly, and pushed the door open. The scene that met my eyes will be burned into my memory forever. There they were. In my bed. The cherrywood bed frame Ethan and I had spent a whole weekend assembling. My sister and my fiancé. Her blonde hair was a stark contrast against my dark blue pillows. He was scrambling to sit up, his face a mask of pure, idiotic panic. For a long, stretched-out second that felt like an eternity, nobody moved, nobody breathed. The world just stopped. It was like a photograph, a twisted portrait of betrayal. Then Dana, clutching the comforter to her chest, had the audacity to whisper the 5 most pathetic words in the English language, "It's not what it looks like." Something inside me didn't just break, it calcified. It turned into something cold, hard, and sharp. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. The wild, hot grief I should have felt was replaced by a chilling, absolute clarity. I looked at Ethan, at the man I was going to marry, and my voice came out flat, dead. "Pack your things. Get out." Then, I turned that dead-eyed gaze to the girl who shared my blood, the one who I'd taught to ride a bike and helped with her homework. "You're dead to me." I didn't wait for a response. I turned on my heel, walked out of the room, and pulled the door closed behind me. The soft, final click of the latch wasn't just a sound. It was an ending. It was the sound of a casket closing on the life I thought I had. To understand how a family allows something like this to happen, you have to understand my family. On the surface, we were the all-American dream from a suburb outside Milwaukee. My father, Chris, was a classic patriarch, a man whose word was final and whose moods dictated the emotional temperature of our home. My mother, Joan, was his loyal second-in-command, the family's chief emotional diplomat, whose job was to smooth over any conflict that might upset my father's carefully constructed peace. My brother, Matt, was the quiet observer, 2 years younger than me. And then there was Dana, for years my junior. The baby. The golden child. My entire life was a series of lessons in her supremacy. I remember one evening vividly, during my senior year of high school. It was the day I received the official letter for a full academic scholarship to Marquette University. It was my ticket out, my proof that all my late nights studying, all the weekends I'd spent in the library, had paid off. My parents insisted on a celebratory dinner. I sat at the head of the table, the thick, embossed letter in my hands. "The scholarship covers everything," I explained, my voice brimming with pride. "Tuition, books. I can even work a campus job to cover my own expenses." "That's nice, honey," my father said, his attention already drifting. He turned to Dana, who had been picking at her food with a pout on her face. "Dana, what's this your mother tells me about you not getting the lead in the school play?" And just like that, my life-changing achievement became background noise. The rest of the dinner was an extended therapy session for Dana's disappointment over a high school musical. My mother analyzed the drama teacher's motives. My father gave a lecture on resilience. I just sat there, my full scholarship feeling utterly insignificant. My successes were expected, routine. Dana's feelings were epic tragedies requiring the full attention of the family court. I met Ethan in a sophomore year marketing class. He was smart, driven, and he had this way of looking at me, a focused intensity that made me feel like I was the only person in the room. He saw my ambition not as a threat, but as something incredible. On one of our first dates, he told me something that hooked me completely. "I feel like people look at you, but they don't really see you, Anna," he'd said, taking my hand across the table. "I do." He'd found my deepest insecurity and promised to be its antidote. He became my safe harbor, the one person I thought I could build a real foundation with, away from the shifting sands of my family's dynamics. The day after I found them, Ethan's things were gone. He'd left a single-page letter on the kitchen counter. It wasn't an apology, it was a justification. He wrote about a deep, undeniable connection with Dana he'd been fighting for months. He claimed it was the kind of love you can't run from. The letter ended with a line of such breathtaking arrogance that I still can't believe it was real. "I know this is hard, but I truly hope one day you can find it in your heart to be happy for us." I methodically tore the note into the smallest pieces I could manage and let them fall into the trash like confetti at a funeral. My father's initial reaction was exactly what I needed. He was apoplectic. He called me, his voice booming with rage. "She is a disgrace. She is not welcome in my home. You are my daughter, and she has shamed this family." For one fleeting, beautiful day, I felt the righteous protection of a father. I thought, this is it. This is the moment they finally choose me. That feeling lasted until I spoke to my mother. I called her, my voice cracking, finally letting the tears come. I was looking for a soft place to land. Instead, I got her signature weary sigh. "Oh, Anna," she said, her tone dripping with a familiar disappointment, as if my pain was a mess she now had to clean up. "These things, they can be complicated. He was your fiancé, yes, but you can't control another person's heart. He's not another person, Mom, he's Ethan. And she's my sister." "I know," she said soothingly. "But you're the older sister. You've always been the strong one. You need to be the one to be forgiving." Forgiving. It was always on me. Within 3 months, my father's fire and brimstone anger had been extinguished by my mother's steady campaign for family unity. Dana was welcomed back for Sunday dinners. The official explanation was, "She's still my daughter, and I will not abandon my family." The unspoken message was clear, my pain was secondary to the appearance of a happy, intact family unit. I was expected to sit there, passing the mashed potatoes to the two people who had detonated my life, and smile. I couldn't do it. The air in that town, in that house, was toxic. It was suffocating me. So when the opportunity for the promotion in Indianapolis came up, I didn't just accept it. I fought for it. I saw it as a lifeline. A new city, a new job, a new life. A place where I could breathe again. I moved at the end of the summer, packing my life into cardboard boxes. I thought the 300 miles of highway between me and them would be an impenetrable fortress. I was so incredibly wrong. The first major assault came in September, disguised as an olive branch. It was my father's 60th birthday. He called me incessantly for weeks, his voice shifting from pleading to demanding. It would mean the world to your mother and me, Anna. The family needs to be whole again. It's my birthday. Don't do this to me. The relentless guilt-tripping worked. A tiny, pathetic part of me still yearned for their approval. I drove the 5 hours back, my stomach in a tight knot the entire way. The party was a full-blown affair in their backyard. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. I put on my best fake smile and tried to blend in, making small talk about my new job, my new apartment. For about an hour, it almost felt normal. Then, my father tapped a glass for an announcement. He beamed, his voice full of false bonhomie. We have a few late arrivals I'm so happy to see. He walked to the side gate and opened it. In walked Dana and Ethan, holding hands, a perfectly curated picture of young love. The chatter in the yard died instantly. Every single eye swiveled to me. It was a stage. I was the star of my own public humiliation. My mother materialized at my elbow, her grip on my arm surprisingly strong. Anna, be polite, she whispered fiercely. For your father. Don't make a scene. A scene? They had orchestrated a public ambush and they were worried about me making a scene? I felt a tremor of rage shake my entire body. I looked at Dana, who was trying to look remorseful but just looked smug, and at Ethan, who was staring intently at his shoes. I pulled my arm from my mother's grasp and walked slowly toward them. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence like a razor. You, I said, looking at Dana, are the most pathetic excuse for a human being I have ever met. Then, I turned to Ethan. And you. I truly, genuinely hope she does the exact same thing to you. I hope you feel this gut-wrenching, soul-crushing pain one day. You deserve each other. I turned and walked through the stunned crowd, out the front door, and didn't stop until I was back in my car, shaking with adrenaline and crossing the state line back to Indiana. The second ambush was more cunning. A few months later, in early November, my cousin Sam called. Sam was the family's sweet, harmless black sheep. Anna, he said, his voice sounding genuinely stressed. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm in Indianapolis for a final round job interview tomorrow. I'm a nervous wreck. Could I please just buy you a coffee? I'd love to see a friendly face. My guard was down. It was Sam. I agreed without hesitation. The next day, I walked into the designated Starbucks, scanning the crowd for him. I spotted him in a booth at the back. My smile froze on my face. He wasn't alone. My mother and Dana were sitting with him. A Trojan horse. My own family had used him as a Trojan horse. I should have turned and left. But I was so furious, I stalked over to the table. Sam wouldn't meet my eyes. My mother stood up, her face a practiced mask of gentle concern. Anna, honey. We had to see you. You won't answer our calls. This is why, I said through gritted teeth. Please, she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Don't tear this family apart. Your sister cries herself to sleep at night. I know you're hurting, but you have to be the bigger person. The bigger person. That phrase was a lit match on a trail of gasoline. All the years of being told to swallow my feelings, to put Dana first, to be the responsible one, it all exploded. But I didn't yell. A strange calm washed over me. I looked my mother dead in the eye. The bigger person? You want me to be the bigger person? I let out a short, sharp laugh. A bigger person wouldn't enable a cheat. A bigger person wouldn't tell her own daughter that her life imploding is just an inconvenience. I leaned in a little closer. This family was already torn apart, Mom. I'm just the only one who stopped pretending it wasn't. I turned my back on the three of them, their shocked faces reflected in the window as I walked out. That night, I undertook a digital scorched earth policy. I blocked them. All of them. Parents, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, cousins. I scrubbed my social media clean and locked it down. I changed my phone number. I created a fortress of silence. I thought, finally, the war was over. The next year was a period of quiet reconstruction. I poured everything I had into my work, and it paid off. I was excelling. I made friends who knew nothing of my family drama. And then, I met Hunter. He was an architect, a man who built things for a living. He was solid, dependable, and kind in a way that felt like coming home. He listened to my story without judgment, his anger on my behalf a soothing balm on my wounded soul. That first Christmas, I went with him to his family's home. It was a beautiful, chaotic, loving mess. His parents welcomed me like one of their own. His mother, after finding out I was alone for the holiday, gave me a small, thoughtful gift, a beautiful leather-bound journal. "For all the new stories you're going to write," she'd said with a warm smile. I remember sitting in their loud, joyful living room, watching them argue over a board game, and having to choke back tears. This was what a family was supposed to feel like. I heard them talking about plans for the future, casually mentioning the college fund they'd started for their youngest, and the responsible, forward-thinking love in that simple act struck me profoundly. A few months into the new year, a letter with my father's familiar scrawl arrived, forwarded from my old address. It was a rambling, self-pitying screed about his life post-divorce. My mother had left him. Dana and Ethan had gotten married in a quick courthouse ceremony. He was alone and miserable. The letter was a masterpiece of emotional manipulation, ending with the line, "I hope you are happy, even if your happiness was built on the ruins of our family." I read it, felt nothing but a distant pity, and tossed it into my fireplace. The true final battle began the following summer. My brother, Matt, showed up at my door. He looked worn down, older than his years. He gave me a halting, genuine apology for his silence, for his cowardice. "I never know how to stand up to Dad," he confessed. He told me things were bad. Really bad. "The divorce is getting nasty," he said, running a hand through his hair. "And Dad, he lost his job a while back. He's been trying to hide it, but he blew through his severance. They even had to use their savings to pay for Dana's wedding." He looked me in the eye, his own filled with a desperate plea. "Mom is a wreck. She's been diagnosed with a severe anxiety disorder. The doctor says the stress is pushing her to a breaking point. She keeps saying her one regret is not making things right with you. Anna, please. She just wants to see you. Alone. To apologize. For her health." He found the chink in my fortress. The one lever that could still move me, guilt over my mother's health. Against my better judgment, I agreed. 1 hour. At a public place of my choosing. A few days before the meeting, I had lunch with Hunter's father. He was a partner at a major law firm, a man of quiet authority and immense integrity. We were discussing a contract negotiation I was navigating at work. He listened intently, then gave me some brilliant advice. As we were leaving, he put a hand on my shoulder. "You've got a great head on your shoulders, Anna," he said. "You're sharp and you're tough. Your parents must be incredibly proud." The words, meant as a kindness, felt like a hot poker. Proud? They wouldn't recognize the person he was describing. But his validation, the respect of a man like him, settled something deep inside me. It was the armor I didn't know I needed. I picked a busy, anonymous coffee shop downtown. I saw my mother in a booth, looking frail and hunched over a cup of tea. I sat down, my guard up. She started with a weak, rambling apology. It sounded hollow, rehearsed. Then, less than 5 minutes in, the door opened. My heart sank into my shoes. My father walked in, followed by Dana and Ethan. The final ambush. This time, however, something was different in me. The panic was gone, replaced by a cold, observational calm. "What is this?" I asked, my voice flat. "An intervention," my father declared, pulling up a chair. "This has gone on long enough." What followed was a masterclass in manipulation. Dana cried on cue. My mother wrung her hands. My father pontificated about the sanctity of family. They circled me like vultures, throwing every piece of emotional ammunition they had. I remained silent, sipping my water, watching them. My silence was a wall they couldn't breach, and it drove them mad. Their desperation grew, their masks began to slip. Finally, my father's composure shattered. "Damn it, Anna, stop being so selfish," he roared, his fist hitting the table with a loud crack. "This isn't just about your hurt feelings anymore. I lost my job. The divorce has wiped me out. We co-signed the mortgage on their house, and with Ethan's reduced salary, the bank is threatening foreclosure. They're going to lose everything." He leaned forward, his eyes wild with desperation. And then came the real reason. The ugly, rotten truth. We know who Hunter's father is. We know he's a powerful lawyer, that his firm handles real estate. A phone call from you, Anna. An introduction. A good word. It's the least you can do for the family that gave you everything. There it was. The final, disgusting reveal. They hadn't come for forgiveness. They had come for a bailout. They saw my new life, my new family, not as a source of happiness for me, but as a resource for them to exploit. They wanted to drill into my sanctuary and pump it dry. A laugh escaped my lips. It was a harsh, ugly sound. I looked at their eager, desperate faces and finally understood. I stood up slowly. I opened my wallet, pulled out a crisp $10 bill, and laid it gently on the table to cover my water. "So that's it," I said, my voice resonating with a clarity that silenced them all. "I'm not a daughter. I'm a potential line of credit. An asset to be leveraged." I shook my head, a small, sad smile on my lips. "I'm sorry to inform you, but this asset has declared bankruptcy." I turned and walked out of that coffee shop, the weight of a lifetime lifting from my shoulders with every step. In the car, I told Hunter everything. His face hardened into a mask of cold fury. "Tomorrow morning," he said, his voice a low, protective growl, "we are meeting with my dad. Not for them. For you. We are building a legal firewall around you so high and so thick they will never, ever touch you or our life again." The next day, I sat in a sleek, top-floor office, a place of power and respect. Hunter sat beside me, his hand firmly in mine. His father sat opposite us, not as a father-in-law, but as my lawyer. We didn't just discuss the name change. We discussed trusts, legal protections, and the formal drafting of a cease and desist order. He treated me with the utmost seriousness and respect, validating my experience and empowering my decisions. Signing the paperwork to change my name felt like signing my own Declaration of Independence. I was severing the final tie, formally renouncing any claim or connection to their name, their drama, their debts, their inheritance. Almost a year later, as Hunter and I were setting up a college fund for our unborn child, one last piece of mail from the old world found its way to me. It was a formal notification related to my father's bankruptcy proceedings. The old Anna would have had a panic attack. The new Anna simply handed it to her husband, who passed it to her lawyer. A week later, a registered letter was sent back, a final, impenetrable legal wall. The silence that followed was absolute. Now, sometimes I stand in our backyard, looking at the garden we've planted. I'm 28, my daughter has just turned 1, and she has her father's laugh. I'll see a stubborn weed trying to choke a rose bush, and I'll kneel, pull it out by the root, and toss it away. Then I'll water the flowers, tending to the life I chose, the life I nurtured. Some families are the gardens you're born into, overgrown with weeds and strangled by the past. Others are the ones you have to build yourself, seed by loving seed. Thank you all so much for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it helps someone out there who feels trapped. My biggest question for you is, have you ever had to choose between your own peace and your family? Let me know your story in the comments below. And if you want to hear more, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It means the world.